My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. In case you're wondering what I'm doing with a cup in my hand, well, I'm just trying to take my time over here because we've got a long show that lies ahead. We've been complaining about overrates. We've been complaining about Chennai getting stuck and letting their overrate get to 12, 13, 14. None of those happened. The overrate was outstanding, lots of spinners. And Chennai decided to find their way to the finish line in impeccable fashion, in absolutely the way they wanted. 18.4 overs, 150 for two. And remember, we talked about several boxes to be ticked. Well, they've ticked the first of those boxes, which is to get over the line and get the crucial 2 points. It might not have been in 13 or 14 overs. I mean, at least you need to get the first task out of the way. How brilliant was Rituraj Gaikwad? And I think that'll please Chennai more than anything else, because it's one of the boxes, and in the company of Shaun Pollock and Lisa Sthalekar, one of the boxes we talked about from Chennai's point of view was, yes, they want to win matches, but MS Dhoni wanted to blood some of the youngsters. He managed to do both, Shaun.
Yeah, he did. I mean, obviously he has to fill the shoes of Shane Watson, who's been pretty good for them at the top of the order over the years. But Gaikwad was absolutely superb. You know, some of the shots he played, he didn't look flustered, failed in the last game, and you could just feel that pressure building. Even the first 4 deliveries of the innings, you thought, oh, is he going to feel the pressure and maybe try something flamboyant and hang himself out to dry? But he didn't. He held his nerve and then went from strength to strength. So, yeah, brilliant knock by him. As you say, we've seen CSK arrive, probably their best game in many ways of the tournament, the most accomplished performance they've put out. The over rate of both teams was superb. So it can be done. You can bowl your overs quickly. And, it was the result that CSK was after. And once again, unfortunately for Kohli, captaining his RCB against the CSK hasn't been too successful.
Well, we'll talk about the colour in a minute. That record remains intact. RCB in green have still never beaten an existing franchise every time they've put that on. But this is the captaincy record in this event. MS Dhoni against this particular opposition, 16 wins, 8 losses. And look at Virat Kohli in reverse. So really, the pattern seems to be there. But Lisa, yes, it's the cricketing front. We talked about Gaikwad briefly, but just mentally, they seem to be a different side in yellow today. They were calm, collected in a chase. They stuck in there and finished it off clinically. All the things they hadn't done for 80% of the tournament.
Sometimes when you kind of feel that things haven't gone your way, you relax a little bit. I'm sure the dugout of Chennai, captain and also coaching staff, they're very experienced. They've all been there before. So many players, so many of the coaching staff. So they don't look too flustered. Yeah, things haven't gone their way, but they can put things in perspective. And that's exactly what they've done. And Shaun mentioned it at the top of the show. You can only control what you can control. So that's exactly what they've done. They've been able to restrict the runs. I thought that partnership between AB and Virat was going to explode, but they were able to break it up pretty quickly without it, going big right at the end. And that probably gave their batters some hope. And then Faf was really the one, I thought, that controlled that power play where they were able to go at just under 8 runs and over. And I do believe that set up the victory for them.
Yeah, I mean, the comparison there between a 5.8 and a 6.5 versus 8.5 and 9 with the similar number of wickets lost, I think tells the story there that, we often prefer to judge a pitch after the 40 overs have been bowled. And now I think we can safely say, Shaun, it should have been a 160, 165 type total.
Yeah, it probably was. Although, you see Chennai got 48 for 1 after 6 overs. A bit of a surprise for me. I thought it would be 47. But they were a little bit better than what we predicted.
Such a smarty pants.
But I think in all honesty, I think RCB got it wrong. And in that particular period that we're referring to, I think they got their quick bowlers on and they offered up too much pace, too much width,
Correct.
And actually made scoring too easy. And in many ways, we look at the team that defended last night, the bowling attack that they used to such good effect. It was almost pace off the ball. There wasn't guys with express pace. And I think that's where RCB maybe missed a trick. They were brilliant in Abu Dhabi, the game before, but I think they offered up too many free balls. Even though Morris started pretty well, even when he came back into the mix there, it was just easy pickings, particularly once guys had got themselves in. And we didn't see any of that from Kohli and de Villiers. They had no pace to work with, and they couldn't put that bowling attack under pressure. So maybe missed a trick in their tactics.
I do also think that the pitch actually probably played the best it did in the fourth innings. You've got to remember that this pitch was used last night's game. So it seemed like it was a different track. I don't know if you felt the same way, guys.
Yeah, I think because of the way they bowled, it seemed like a different track. I mean, the ball was coming on. There was nothing stopping, wasn't there? We saw a lot of mistimed shots last night. The guys finding fielders not be able to knock it through. But it did. It looked like it played beautifully. And I think that was maybe because there was more pace on the ball.
But much like his comment about going to the gym after the commentary session, that little bit about the power play was nothing to do with analysis of the game. Chennai's run chase, Dhoni's brilliance, Virat Kohli's bowling. It was just to remind everyone, in case I had forgotten, which by the way I had, that the winner of the My 11 Circle Badge of Honor was indeed Shaun Pollock. And we've already had the single frame of you. We've put the expert of the day under you. But if you'd like, we can do it one more time. There you go. Let's do it one more time. Come on. You can exult and do a
he looks like
Beyonce type move. There you go.
He looks like on the coverage you see the fans and they're dancing away and doing all the moves. Go on, Shaun. I reckon we could get you there.
No, I can't be that bad. Surely not.
But the other factor we have to bring in, I mean, once the analysis is done, is what you talked about in the entire scenario, Shaun.
Scenarios.com. There need to be, I think, 6 or 7 things go according to plan. Well, we've got one. One has been ticked off. And if we have a loss tonight, then it'll be almost like it's another one in the right direction. But they just had to win their games, don't they? And that's all Chennai can do. And then maybe even at the last game, if they win the next game, and things go according to plan, maybe the interview with Dhoni might be slightly different. But no, they've got themselves into a predicament. But with scenarios.com, we just never know. There could be some hope.
Yeah, we'll try and analyze what the captains say once we get on the Cricbuzz app and have a look at what they've said after the game. Very curious to know what thoughts of both Virat Kohli and MS Dhoni, but we'll keep that going. We've got another match to look forward to, which we'll talk about shortly. But just sticking with this, Lisa, if you look at it from the opposition's point of view, now Mumbai and Delhi might be sitting pretty, but Bangalore were also pushing, not just to qualify, but always thinking of 1 and 2. Will they start thinking that we've got a few things to fix now?
If you're going to start to lose matches, about now is where you want to get one out of the way so that you can start to build some wins and everyone humming so you get into the finals. But yeah, that 1 and 2 spot is really crucial. All teams eyeing for it. And you can see that Bangalore have just, they've got one more game than Mumbai, obviously, who are about to take place. So they've got to make sure that they do win their next few, because the 1 and 2, remember, they get, there's 2 bites of the cherry if they lose that match against each other. So that's what they'll need to do. But the main thing is not to panic. Like for Bangalore, things have been going pretty well for them. We normally go through an IPL and we're always scratching our heads why this side aren't able to produce the amount of wins. They're not that far away, so they don't need to panic. And I don't think they will with coaching staff of Simon Kadich and Mike Hesson. They seem like 2 pretty cool guys as well.
If we manage to pull that table up again, the only thing that will be a bit distressing for them is the fact that although they're sitting on a similar amount of points, they basically have to get one more win than the teams above them, because, the net run rate of the others is pretty good. And unless they win a couple of games really convincingly, they could all end up on the same points but still end up third and have to go into the eliminator. So they'll be conscious of that. And if the opportunity presents itself, I think they'll be targeting Delhi and thinking to themselves, if we get a chance to win, let's try and get above 0.04. rather than Mumbai, who look like they're flying at 1.4.
Yeah, they have a game against Delhi in hand, so that'll be a good clash when it's sort of in your hands and you're playing the team who are also pushing for that, and that'll be the final game for them this season. But there's 2 ways of looking at it. One, of course, we've talked about from Bangalore. Let's quickly have a look at that. Yes, that's the last game in Abu Dhabi against Delhi. Before that, on the 28th, is going to be a huge one against Mumbai, also in Abu Dhabi, with one against a very hungry Sunrisers team who will obviously need to make up for what happened last night. We won't dwell on that for the moment. But once you've got that kind of a collapse behind you, probably the only way is up. But one of the things I was going to do at the start of the show was say, well, that's a great victory for Chennai at the MA Chidambaram Stadium in Dubai, because they really did look as if they felt at home here. So Bangalore maybe will feel that, okay, it was an afternoon game. We won the toss, batted first. Probably everything went right. It's the kind of game we should have thrashed them. But maybe it was Chennai's backyard type conditions.
Yeah, the conditions definitely were. I think that played into their hands. I mean, we've seen over the years, I think they bat better on those surfaces. And then also they've got more bowling options. Someone like a Rayudu, we saw how when he played against Mumbai, there was a lot of short pitch deliveries, and with the pace of the surface, it put him under a little bit of pressure. Not today. He looked very comfortable. Dhoni also, when he walks to the crease, he can look to dominate. So I think it is their kind of conditions. And, at the end of the day, it is a bit of a bad luck story, because most teams, when they go to the auction and looking to pick sides, they're looking to get the best balance for half of their games, which happen on their own home grounds. Whereas I think the one team who actually have benefited from moving out of Bangalore is RCB. Their bowlers will be so happy that they don't have to play at that venue for 7 of their home games, because it really is tough work with the size of that ground and the altitude.
Well, interesting. The first thing we're hearing about what Virat Kohli said, he said, don't go by that pitch in the 4th innings. We're calling it the 4th innings because there were 2 innings last night and a couple right now. So he said it just wasn't a true representation of what that pitch actually did. And he wasn't too unhappy with what they finished with in their 20 overs, Lisa.
I mean, that's interesting. And I guess he's basing that opinion on how well Chennai did bowl as well. We've got to give credit sometimes to the bowling group that, they are able to execute their plans, a lot of change-ups, a lot of into the wicket, and it was certainly hard for Bangalore to find the runs. You could see that Virat and AB were trying to kind of slap the ball through and smother it and get their wrist through the ball as quickly as possible. But, credit to, Sam Curran, 3 for 19, even Mitch Satner coming into the side for the first game, 1 for 23. They bowled well to restrict Bangalore.
Yeah, and
I think Shaun? Those bowling figures are superb. I think the spinners were the job. Even Imran Tahir, I think he went for 10 or 12 in his last over. He held things back. And what didn't work for the RCB is they had the 2 off-spinning options, but not one left-hander got to the crease for Chennai Super Kings. So in many ways, it nullified. They couldn't quite get through their 4 overs because to a right-hander, the off-spinner was pretty easy to deal with.
Yeah, fair point. But what he also added was he felt that they weren't expressive enough. And certainly Bangalore are the kind of team who need to express themselves, led by Virat Kohli. And we could have bowled a change of pace and the odd bouncer. We let batsmen dictate stuff. So I think that's a fair assessment, because he does assess well. And he's one of those who'll say if we lost, well, the opposition were better on the day.
Yeah, I don't know about the bouncers. I think the bouncers almost played into the plan. Use the surface 100%. And, a slow ball bouncer might have been the better option. But when you've got a surface that is holding, if you give a high-speed delivery and it gets a top edge, we saw a couple find the edge and go the whole way for 6.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the right plan. I think the change-ups, 100%, and offering nothing. When you've got a surface that's holding, you've got to be as straight as possible. So they have to make the angles with nothing coming off the pitch. So I think that's where they went wrong. If they were going to bowl the slow ball bumpers, then I can agree. But as far as trying to push them back, I don't think that would have been the right call.
And by the time the spinners came in, it was just really over a run a ball. So there was no panic stations by Chennai when they were chasing. And given that they're used to the conditions in Chennai, their bowlers certainly thrive, but also their batters are used to these type of decks. And both of them use their feet really well to kind of nullify any kind of spin by getting out to the pitch of the ball. And you could see by the big shots that they were able to execute. So it was clever by them. But you feel for Bangalore, because everyone just goes, and you said it as well, Gautam, you think that this is their year. but is it? They've lost the game now.
Well, he said, I mean, again, the last point, I'm not just trying to defend myself, the last point Virat Kohli made was, you will lose, and you said it too, you will lose games along the way, and if you have to, get one out of the way right now, you're still in the mix, just have to find your way into that top two. But Sam Curran, Shaun made a good point as well. We are not just surmising. He said the pitch was similar to what we get in Chennai, and it was one of those wickets which didn't have much pace. And he himself has been trying to bowl the back of the hand slower ball, something he's learned from another Curran, his own brother.
Yeah, Tom's pretty good at bowling that one. I think he would have been leading the family jewel when it comes to that sort of delivery. But I think if we go through the years, I'm trying to actually think of some of the bowlers that CSK have had over the years, and there's never really been anyone to express, especially on their conditions. I mean, I think that Bravo's got the purple cap twice, and I mean he is the best exponent of mixing things up. Chahar, even though he bowls brilliantly up front, he gets the ball to shape it. It's not high speed. Maybe Dougie Bollinger for a period was quite successful, but he was used in the first few overs and then at the back end. So in those middle overs, you want to take everything off it and make the batsman make the play. And I think Sam Curran is that kind of individual as well. And that was probably why they went for him in the auction, because he does have that ability to mix it up and make life scoring on a slower surface.
He certainly does. But, well, we're going to be talking about a couple of different colours later on, but we'll come to that as and when we can give you an update about the toss, which I know that Karen Pollard, so it's no Rohit Sharma, Karen Pollard has won, and we'll update you on that shortly. But sticking to colour for the moment, before we get into the second game, again, green simply didn't work for them. We mentioned it at the start, not a good record. The only two teams they've ever beaten were Kochi Tuskers and Gujarat Lions, and the record remains intact. Yet another loss, and so often you've seen what they've lost. They've put runs on the board, and it hasn't been enough.
Yeah, they've got to go for a darker shade of green, I think.
Well, because I mean, the purpose of it is, sustainability, which is very important. So maybe they're doing their thing for the competition by losing these type of games because they're bringing everyone back into the pack. But maybe a different shade of green. They've got to change it. Surely someone within the camp who's very superstitious has already identified this and gone, guys, it's got to change.
Yeah, you've been in India too long thinking about superstitious. There's a fair share of people who go down that alley. But they have, I mean, it is a big loss for them because you look at the scenario, you've got Mumbai still to play them and Delhi to play them before the knockout stages. And both of those teams will understand the importance of finishing 1 and 2 and also understand the importance of trying to eliminate a team like RCB. So when they get their chance to do some damage in the pool stages and maybe get them to finish 3rd or even 4th, they'll be pushing hard to do that because they understand how important it will be in the latter part of the tournament. So they won't be giving any favors to the RCB. And they've also got one game at Sharjah, which can be very unpredictable. So, yeah, they're in a good position, and but they will have to produce some good cricket.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about the second game shortly. Quick reminder for all of you, Karen Pollard has won the toss and decided Mumbai will bat first. So for all Chennai fans who are going to be following that match closely, hoping for Mumbai to get further and further up and win, maybe it's good news for them, for Mumbai to be putting some runs on the board and make life difficult for Rajasthan, who they want to restrict to 12 and below. All the mathematics coming in here. But maybe it's mathematics, maybe it's superstition. I'm not sure how you pick your My 11 Circle teams, but some people do it better than others. Now, if you're the best of all, you probably have an ultimate team. The My 11 Circle ultimate team of the day from this game, which had a surprise captain in it, Ruturaj Gaikwad. How many people would have thought of that? You would have been looking at Kohli, AB, Chahal, all these guys. Sam Curran, not a bad choice. He's been giving you wickets and runs throughout the tournament, but that was a combination. It was 2 men in yellow as captain and vice captain. So obviously it was cat among the pigeons, different winners that we're going to talk about. But of course, we will reveal our ultimate champion of the day at the end of the second game. We're still talking about Chennai against Bangalore, and we're talking about our boost stamina meter and Sam Curran, Chennai fans, and all of us, we were very, very impressed by Ruturaj Gaikwad. He'd had a couple of ducks. He had 4 dot deliveries today, and we were starting to think, oh dear, is it going to happen all over again? But look at that overall rating, 90.8, 65 of 51 deliveries. Strike rate of 127 with this sort of a run chase was absolutely ideal. He didn't need to go at 200. 4 boundaries, 3 sixes, and running for 46% of his time at the pitch. I think the key, Shaun, was, he looked like a person who can change gear. So if they were maybe chasing 170, he's shown that he has the potential to be able to do that as well.
Yeah, he looked good. I enjoyed some of the shots he played. Obviously, I haven't seen too much of him, but he looked composed as well. And it's a no-brainer. If you're there for the whole match, you're going to win the Boost Stamina meter. I mean, come on. If you're going to stick around for every single delivery, the 20 that you field, and then you're going to bat the whole way through the innings, you're going to win it. And that's what he showed us he can do. And credit to him. As you say, you're coming in with a bit of pressure, a couple of low scores. You can very easily get written off in the RPL circles if you don't produce. An example of that's Tavatia. Imagine if he had got out in that first game and never played again. For Rajasthan Royals, people would have been never talking about him again. But he turned it around. He's taken that chance, and that's what Gaikwad did today.
Yeah, he actually had a very good Sage Mushtaq trophy, over 400 runs, and struck it over 145. So Shaun and myself don't watch, unfortunately, domestic Indian cricket. So it's great to actually see when you look at those numbers, you go, okay, this guy's good. And then we saw the first few innings and we're like, okay, we haven't seen enough of him yet to make a call, but are we going to see enough of him? And I'm glad that they were able to stick with him, and we could see that he's got some great ability with bat in hand.
Yeah, certainly does. And it's going to be very important for him as an individual. Of course, it's taken Chennai to a victory, and a much needed victory, but it's not happened by accident that he got chosen for the franchise. And now it won't happen by accident as and when he goes forward in his career, perhaps looking at national colours one day, Shaun.
Yeah, you never like to preempt. I mean, there's so many young quality Indian batsmen who haven't...
You guys have too many.
Yeah, well, we get to see them all. I mean, in the other countries, they've got some real potential as well. But we've always said about the RPL, what's so amazing about it is if you're a selector in Indian cricket, you always, in South African cricket or Australian cricket, you always wonder, will he be able to make the upgrade to the international level? Well, in the RPL, you keep getting exposed to the top bowlers in the world on a massive stage. So you do get a feel for whether he can make that step up. And if he keeps making scores like that and he plays for a franchise like Chennai for a couple of years, invariably he will definitely be noticed and he'll get his chance. But at the moment, I don't think you need to go much further than the guys who are playing for that current side. I think over the next 2 or 3 years, they still might be good enough.
Yeah, I think it just puts to rest a discussion we had the other day about which of the Chennai players are going to be part of this team going ahead with all the 33 pluses. But this is one of the guys who looks like he can cement his place. But we've got a doubleheader, a big Sunday doubleheader. And the second match, we did tell you about the toss news. Karen Pollard, still no Rohit Sharma from Abu Dhabi. He's won the toss. They've decided to bat first. And between the two teams, there's just one change. Rajasthan are unchanged and Mumbai have made a single change. Remember, they don't make too many. It all started with that one Saurabh Tiwari, Ishan Kishan change early on. And now they've replaced like for like with James Patterson coming in for Nathan Coulter-Nile. So it just shows the consistency that Mumbai have had throughout. If they have to make a change, it's obviously for a very good reason, and it's not going to be just trying to change the balance of the side, Shaun, which is looking very good.
Yeah, I think that they've got all bases covered. You've got Pattinson and you've got Bolt, who they rely on as the international bowler. So to give Coulter-Nile a bit of game time, I think this is good for the tournament. You never know. You get to the playoffs and one of them gets injured and he needs to step in, and you don't want him coming off no cricket. So I think it's actually been quite good that he's had a bit of a hit out and put a few matches under his belt. They obviously miss Rohit. I think Rohit is important that he gets back as soon as possible and starts to find his best form. He's a massive player for them. He's a massive international player and he's performed on the big stages. So at the knockout stage, I think they'll be really hoping that he does fire. But besides that, not much changes. They've got a good side and even the people who they've decided to turn to have been good. Rajasthan, they're trying to show a bit of security and stick with the same team. And I think they need that. They almost need the coaching staff to back them a couple more times. And hopefully those guys come good. It'll be interesting to see the batting order, though, I suppose.
exactly the question we were going to pose to both of you, because we've had a look at that. We can put our own speculative batting order. It doesn't really matter. It matters what the team management thinks, what the captain thinks. Now, let's just put it out there. We've seen Ben Stokes open. First time we saw Stokes and Butler, then we've seen Stokes and Uthappa. I think we're all in agreement that Uthappa's found his place at the top. Question is, who keeps him company? Stick with Stokes, put him down the middle order, get Butler up there, or Steve Smith up there, Lisa?
Well, I'm thinking that their theory is Stokes hasn't played a lot of cricket of late, so let's give him the full 20 overs. He can build himself in and start going. I actually think Steve Smith is the best option, simply because he needs a bit of time to really get going. We saw that in the first two games. He did open with Sanju Samson, and they performed really well. But ever since that game against Kolkata, where he played, a hack across the line against Pat Cummins, he has looked quite out of his zone, which is very rare to see a Steve Smith. So I think maybe opening will give him enough time to go about his business. But Robin Uthappa, I'm glad that they've put him back up there. I felt like he was a fish out of water down in the middle order. Either you have him in your side and he opens, or you don't. It's as simple as that. You can't keep shuffling him down. So, big questions whether they do continue to go with Stokes.
Yeah, I was just wondering why it took them so long to figure that out. We were saying it from day one. Robin Uthappa was very much part of Cricbuzz Live last season. And, we kept saying that, listen, if you don't want him there, if you're going to have him at number 5, get him in. We can use another expert on the show. But anyway, they figured it out. He's opening and he's looking a lot better. But for all of you, it means that it's a reminder of Robin Uthappa. They will be chasing. If you want to get him in, he's not a bad choice to have on your My 11 Circle teams. Download the app. And of course, you need the final update reminders, which is Rohit Sharma not playing. He's someone a lot of you like to have in your team. And since he's not playing, there's a reminder to just take him out. There's enough time. You can do that before the game begins. Pick a captain and a vice captain. And in addition to that, we like to give you our own tips. We have a discussion among our team and find our My 11 Circle trump cards, which today is going to be Rahul Tewatia. Yes, a lot of you might say that you are picking him continuously in your team, but there's a reason for it. For those of you who are not picking him, he bowls, he bats, he's been consistent. And after that first game, Shaun, he's shown that it was far from a fluke. A lot of people said, yeah, there are a lot of players who have come and played a few cameos like that, but that word cameo has long gone from his vocabulary.
No, he's shown us he's here to stay, and he's produced other quality performances to make us understand that he's a better cricketer than what we first saw, and that it wasn't a flash in the pan. And I think when you're choosing your teams, I think the keys always go for the all-rounders. I mean, we look at Sam Curran as the vice captain in the last game, who earned the most points. Tewatia, he's good with the bat at the back end. He bowls his overs, and they often put him in the fielding positions, which are important fielding positions, like Faf du Plessis, for example, takes 3 catches. Those all add up in the points. So I think he's a good trump card. You can fly him underneath the radar at times, but he often comes up and produces enough points to get you the win.
He certainly does. In fact, for those of you who are on the internet, and that's pretty much 99% of you, if you go on to the Rajasthan Royals Twitter page, some time ago it said, we hope 2020 can do a Tewatia on us.
It seems to be the theme out of this edition of the IPL, isn't it? Is he going to do a Tewatia on you? That's basically it. So fingers crossed, 2020 we get out of here and it's not a bad year at the back end.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want it to be. We've got couple of months to go for the year, and for the moment we are still trying to unearth the champion team. Today we're only talking about one game at a time. Yes, that old cliche. We are taking it one game at a time. It's Mumbai against Rajasthan, and we've talked about our boost stamina meter for the previous game. What an effort it was from Rituraj Gaikwad. But looking ahead, somebody who'll need to keep his wits about him, have a bit more stamina, perhaps to bat a little deeper than he would have had Rohit Sharma been at the other end, is Quinton de Kock. Shaun Pollock, you know him really well. He started the season in a very disappointing fashion, but what a turnaround it's been from him.
Yeah, he was. He really did struggle to get going coming off those 6 months of no cricket. And, you do look at the individual, and we know him so well, and his timing wasn't there. His footwork wasn't there. He wasn't confident. He wasn't going at the batsman. He wasn't bowlers, he wasn't trying to put them under pressure. But now all of a sudden you realize it has clicked. And, his strike rate's improved, his performance, the amount of runs he's getting, and his confidence is going through the roof. And when you see Quinton playing those pickup pulls to just length deliveries, as a bowler, I think that's the most challenging. I know when I went through my career, anyone who was pulling you off a decent length made you really concentrate on what you had to do, because you knew you couldn't back pitch it, you knew you couldn't over pitch. And he's one of those customers, and he just swirls and helps it on the way. Left-hander combination with often a right-hander at the top of the order for the Mumbai team. So he is looking good. I think the two players in particular, Shikhar Dhawan also started off poorly, and Quinton de Kock, they've both really given the goods by the management team showing faith in them.
Perfect parallel, good example there, Shikhar Dhawan. But what Quinton de Kock also does, being behind the stumps, we saw in that last game, in fact, the last couple of games, that he's taken some really smart catches, and that really helps when you've got that second string to your bow, Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely. Being an all-rounder, as Shaun was as well, if one thing doesn't necessarily go well, you can always contribute with the team. And we know that the keeping role plays such an important role in getting the angles right, working with the captain, giving feedback to the captain about how the pitch is playing, or the batters if he's noticed things. So you're still heavily involved in the game. I also think, and Shaun would know more so, that Quinton's really matured, and I think the captaincy has really helped him. I don't know, 2-3 years ago, if a poor start like that, he'd be able to find a way to come back. But I think he has certainly matured and has a better understanding about his game to get out of those little holes that we all find ourselves in at some stage throughout a season, a tournament, or a career.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point, Shaun. I think the mental side of Quinton de Kock, India remembers him as the guy who came in those 3 ODIs and got back-to-back hundreds. But there seems to be a maturity about him after he took over the captaincy of the national side.
Yeah, I mean, if you give me 3 years ago that Quinny was going to captain South Africa, I might have asked a few questions, because he wasn't like an automatic choice or someone you thought you would have to turn to. But he has come good, and it's always fantastic to have a captaincy brain behind the stumps. Rohit Sharma will often go to him for advice, and I'm sure he'll be helping Polly out as well with some pointers. But you see things clearly from that position. And I think that's where he's starting to contribute and has matured. I think he's starting to come into his own. And I think when you're also behind the stumps, you can be the person who can get some good motivation in and give some good ideas to everyone. No matter whether it's the spinners or the fast bowlers or the angles of the field. And he's definitely doing that.
Yeah, in case you're wondering, even though he may have given himself the My 11 Circle badge of honor, he was referring to the captain of Mumbai today. Polly was talking about the other Polly, not about himself on this occasion. Just to clarify that.
Yeah, there's been 2 Pollys that have captained Mumbai. That's all we're going to say.
Well done. Good comeback. Good choice of color as well. But that's just a coincidence. You're very neutral.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the blue, just very, very much a coincidence.
Yeah, it could be a royal blue. It could be a royal blue. Just because they started wearing pink, these are 2 traditional blue sides. Mumbai with always wearing their blue, and Rajasthan, the royal blue with a bit of royal pink thrown in. But
I've got my pink shorts on.
All right, we'll take your word.
We don't want to see. We don't want to see.
But let's talk about the bowling. Because as and when Mumbai puts some runs on the board, it's going to be Bumrah against Jofra Archer. But as we've said, the one difference between Bumrah and Jofra Archer is that Bumrah has a chap called Trent Boult at the other end. With all due respect to the rest of the Rajasthan lineup, Jofra just doesn't. He's got too much on his shoulders. We'll talk about Trent Boult, Shaun Pollock here, and how brilliant he was the other night, and how brilliant he is going to be for Mumbai going ahead till the end, especially in the power play.
Yeah, he is. He's a big player, and the reason why he's a big player is because he brings a bit of variation. The left arm option, and if there's some swing in the air, he will extract it. So I always think in the IPL, it's so important. You often rely on 5, maybe 6 bowlers. And if they can be of international flavor, they've done the hard yards, they've been in the pressure situations, it's always going to be easier. And you mentioned how Archer doesn't really have much support. And that's why he's got some fantastic cricketers there, but they aren't international bowlers. And they are going to be feeling the pressure when the pressure situations arise. Trent Bolt, he's played World Cup finals. He's been in really big games for New Zealand, and he showed his class in the last game. A little bit surprised that they've decided to bat first. I don't know. In Abu Dhabi, I know it's a used surface, but we've sort of seen it get a little bit better in the evening with the dew factor as of late. But maybe just runs on the board, and then the fact that Rajasthan are in a predicament and under pressure to perform and produce a result might be the option that Mumbai have gone for. But they have got the bowling, and they've got all bases covered. I mean, if it does spin, if it grips, Pollard can come into his own. We haven't seen Hardik Pandya. I don't know if we will in this tournament. But all their spinning options, Chahar and other Pandya, have all bowled brilliantly as well, and all very experienced. So their bowling lineup is strong, and whatever they normally get, they would look to defend. I mean, we saw the graphic last night, was it? Where the games that they've lost, it was just super overs. Otherwise, they've won it. So in many ways, they actually haven't lost a game in normal time.
And of course, we are at the stage of the tournament where it's the reverse fixture. So if we have a look at that, 6th of October,
just the first game, sorry.
Played Rajasthan, and they did bat first, and they won by a reasonable margin. So they probably looked at that and said, look, what have we done against them before? How did we do it? Did we do well enough? Let's do it again. Never mind if it's day or night or which ground it is.
One thing that the Mumbai side do really well is everyone knows their role. They know exactly what's required of them. And it doesn't matter if it's the first innings or the second innings. I don't think it would matter, to be honest, if Mumbai were to bowl or bat first. I think they're that quality side at the moment. Everyone is feeling very comfortable in what they're able to do. And they've really shared, probably not as much as Delhi has, the player of the match awards, but, they're not relying heavily on one or two players. Other players have stood up. So they are looking very good at the moment.
But the only thing I'd say is that Rajasthan have to identify a time where they can apply some pressure. And when you look at that Mumbai team, with Sharma not at the top of the order, I think Ishan Kishan will probably come at the top. I don't think Sabah Tiwari will come at number 1 or 2. Maybe he comes at 3. I think there's your opportunity. There's your opportunity with Jofra Archer. If you can pick up an early wicket, particularly if it's Quinton de Kock, and maybe get Ishan Kishan and Tiwari batting together, Surya Kamal also might be an opportunity to apply some pressure. I think they bowled shockingly at him last time they played. They just offered him deliveries to deflect, and that's his real strength. So they would have learned their lesson there. But that's maybe where they can just build some pressure. Is there someone who can start with some off spinners to start with the left-handers up front? They've got to think out of the box and see that as the one weak area of Mumbai without Sharma there, and they've got to try and exploit that.
Well, let's look at it from the Rajasthan team's point of view. From the points table, yet again, we like to keep looking at it. It's that time of the tournament. We're looking for the top 4, who will make it, who will not. We saw what happened to Hyderabad's chances, potential chances. We've discussed Chennai. What about Rajasthan? Firmly planted at the bottom now after that victory to Chennai. And they're playing the team who are right at the very top. So we know that in 3 games, they can get to 14 points. It's not Chennai's scenario. It's not a 12 and not walking on coals yet. But Rajasthan will need to also pretty much win all 3s, and they have to start right here, right now.
Yeah, they do. And they've got also Kings 11 Punjab and then Kolkata as well. So it's a tough road, but, the cliche is take one game at a time. And the most important thing is that they come across and beat Mumbai. They've certainly got the side to do that. And I would imagine as a group, they would have discussed, right, what are we happy chasing on this ground? What do we feel is comfortable? And they'll have that in their mind. And Steve Smith, who I think at times has made some decisions where I've gone, oh, okay, that's surprising. I think Untitled bowling, I think the penultimate over that went for a lot of runs. I think the last game was at Archer. They didn't use him or bowl his 3rd over. So he'll be questioning some of the things that he's doing. And if they can get it right, there's certainly still a chance of beating Mumbai, simply because we always talk about you don't want to kind of win all of your games leading up. You kind of just want a bit of a stumble just to give you a kick up the backside, so then you can narrow your focus when it comes to finals.
Yeah, I think the usage of Archer, which of course was in slightly different circumstances, when we all kept saying, could they get a third over? And I think we concluded at the end that the conundrum that Steve Smith was in was that if I do give him my third over, do I really have anyone who can come back to me in overs numbers 15, 16, 17, 18? And at the end, well, it didn't matter, but we'll wait and see how much Archer has an influence. What will matter is our second bite of the cherry. It's not just teams to qualify 1 and 2. Here on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Love live. Cricbuzz Love, that's good. Cricbuzz Love, that's what it is. Come on. It's Cricbuzz Love and it's live all together. Sometimes it's called a Freudian slip, people. It's called a Freudian slip. So on My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Love, and there's plenty of love we have. We need to try and show some love and get the right prediction for the 20 over score. Shaun Pollock has shown the way already today by winning it in the first game with a one-run prediction, 47 versus 48. So yes, Shaun, you will be throwing it down for us to see we can work around. Are you going to mislead us?
I'll give you a choice. You've struggled so far today, so I'll give you the opportunity to go first. I don't want to have to bracket you into a certain figure. I'll go after you go.
You know what's confusing about this game? 194 Abu Dhabi, and then the previous game 84, and then I think a 120 odd. Oh, pick a number between 84 and 120.
Add them all 3 and divide by 3.
Right. I'm going to say 162.
Okay, I'll go 177. It's early in the morning for Lisa, so I'll go 177.
I don't want to slip in between, but I was going to go the 170s. Shall I have faith in Mumbai's batting, or will Jofra produce some magic? Okay, it's faith in Mumbai's batting. I'll sneak over that. Yeah, 182 again. 186, I said earlier. I mean, horribly wrong, but I'm going 182. They've done it twice, and they can do it a third time. No Rohit Sharma, but I think they've got enough batting. They've got a fearless Ishan Kishan, Quinton de Kock in good form. The likes of Pollard will come into the equation at some point in time. Both Pandyas can bat. We're not even going to talk about any more than that.
He's just talking. He's talking himself up, isn't he? He's trying to say, I made the right number.
If you don't, the key to this is you just give us a number, not a massive explanation.
Okay. We don't need an essay.
Oh dear, it's the way exams work in this country, Lisa. It's not multiple choice. You've got to have for 3 marks. Please give us your experience of what happens out there in a cricket field. Whatever. It's not about just tell us who's going to win. So yeah, essay type answers. All right, just a genuine feeling before we go. What do Mumbai need to do in the first 6 overs, Shaun? Because they're the ones who are setting a total. We know Ishan Kishan will come hard. Same with Quinton de Kock, more of the same.
Yeah, I think they'll just play their natural way, but I do feel that it is the opportunity for Rajasthan. Those first 6 overs, if they can do some damage and put Mumbai on the back foot, they'll then believe that they can win. If they can't, and they know of the hitting power of Mumbai still to come at the back end, I think they'll feel under pressure.
Fair enough. That's what we're looking at. Got a wide span for that My 11 Circle badge of honor. And of course, we'll follow Mumbai's progress and see where they stand in the 10th over and bring it all to you on Cricbuzz Combox. And at the end, of course, My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz live with love.